everybody. Welcome to another episode of GM Chat with Mike and Jeff. Yes, we're back. Fresh from watching or ignoring the election coverage.
Quite.
Yeah. But a couple quick announcements. We are still supporting the Wildland Firefighter Foundation, which helps the families of injured and killed in action firefighters, and still fires in Colorado, still fires all along the West Coast, and it's the same poor folks, men and women who were fighting it in July are fighting it now, and a lot of them have gotten injured, a few have perished trying to stop those fires, and we think that absolutely their families should get some help. So we have donated. We are hoping that you will do that too. The link is on our website, artifactsworldwide.com. And, yeah, donate if you can. Anything helps. Even $1 helps. So we hope that you, too, will find it in your heart to help those trying to stop those fires. The other thing's a little bit happier. Well, okay, it's a lot happier. Coming up on Saturday. That's right. 3 days from now. Oh, crap. 3 days from now. We are taking part in the Extra Life Marathon for Children's Miracle Network Hospitals this weekend. It's our first time doing it for Artifacts Worldwide. I've been part of a team once before in like the second year they did this, like around 2010. But we're hoping to raise money for Children's Miracle Network Hospitals in Canada, the United States, and Puerto Rico. And to do that, we're going to be doing a marathon gaming session. We are starting at 8:30 a.m. Eastern U.S. time on Saturday, and we will be running not one, not two, not three, but 4 different 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons games. 3 one-shots, and then this week's episode of Lands of Acathan, which we postponed from last night until Saturday. And we've got a different GM for each game. Mike is running the first one from 8:30 to 11:30. Tell me a little bit about what you're running.
It's basically it's Dungeons and Dragons, but it is a remote part of the world where only animal folk live, and by animal folk, the way I described it to you guys, I'll describe it for everyone else because it's absolutely spot on. It's if you ever seen the old Disney Robin Hood, where all of the characters are actually animals, that's what this is. So all of the players will be playing animals who are intelligent and articulate and dexterous and have the ability to use weapons and tools and magic and all of that good stuff. So it'll be that type of a setting, and the little place is called Humblewood, and it is actually a game system that someone had come up with. I'm sure we can get the link to all of that on our website and stuff. Sure. But I sort of borrowed from it, and I'm using it in my own campaign world for this. But so that's essentially what it's about.
Yep, I am playing. Trying to remember, I can't remember what my character's name is. But I am playing a Bright Gallus Bard, basically a golden pheasant bird person.
A lot of bird people in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I pretty much have decided I'm gonna. He talks like this, and a little bit like Alan Adale from the Robin Hood cartoon. That's my model for this character, and well, it's gonna be fun.
Should be a
So
hoot.
yeah, so there's that. Now we've got a half-hour break between each game to give people a chance to get food and stretch and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
At noon, our friend Buddy Allman, who's been on this show a couple times, is coming in, and he's going to be running a game called The Mystery at Dragon's Rest. The summation is, at a covenant of powerful wizards and sorcerers, the Magi of Dragon's Rest live a life of peaceful solace and magical research, but when a routinely conventional event turns tragic, the Magi must solve a mystery that defies even magical convention. And in a move that I still have not, and probably won't be able to decide until it's over, is either foolish or genius, Buddy, who has never run 5th edition before, has decided that we're all going to be level 20 wizards and sorcerers.
In the 3-hour one-shot.
In a 3-hour one-shot.
If I can quote one of my favorite actors in one of my favorite movies, hold on to your butts.
Yeah. That's going to be interesting. And then at 3:30, this promises to be very, very interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun. Our friend Nikki from Lands of Acathan, Nikki Grams, is going to be running The Lost Castle of Dreams. She says, join us for the perilous journey of an adventuring group of possum folk. Yes, we are all possum folk.
Kind of narrowed down what I was doing, I guess.
Yes. As they venture into the Lost Castle of Dreams, or will it be their worst nightmare? Yeah. And then at 7 p.m., normal time, just different day, we'll be having the latest chapter of Lands of Acathan.
Yes.
And all of that is happening this Saturday, November 7th, starting at 8:30 a.m. Eastern U.S. time. All of this information is on our website, artifactsworldwide.com. Just click on news. It'll take you right to the schedules, and you can get to more detailed descriptions of each game by clicking on the title.
It's really hilarious that we're calling this a marathon. What 25 years ago would have been the typical Saturday of gaming for us.
I know. But, now it's something we actually have to, prepare for and plan on how to get through.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's all the announcements that I've got at this point. So, Mike, tell them what our topic is for the evening.
So, we had a little trouble thinking of a topic this week, and one thing that occurred to me is we kind of touched on it in the past, but we haven't actually had a show devoted to just this topic. And that is basically what game systems are out there that we would enjoy playing, but we haven't yet. There's a lot of them for me. I've only recently been exposed to some new game systems and because I'm a diehard old school. It takes me about 3 or 4 years to get invested in a new edition of Dungeons and Dragons. So,
right.
But I've definitely become more open to new game systems as I've seen new, streams and so forth. So that's basically kind of what we're going to be talking about. And you had an idea to kind of expand on that too, to take it in a more specific direction. Did you want to talk about that a little bit, or?
Oh, I just I figured one of the things that I thought of going through this was, these are there are so many different systems and different mechanics and that sort of thing, and it got me thinking. I haven't ever seen games for certain story worlds. And so I got to thinking, what would you use if you were going to set a game in this particular world? Because it's a little bit what you first suggested that we talk about tonight, talking about variants.
Right.
And just, what system would you use for that? What would the recommendations be? And then, I'm hoping that our viewers can tell us what their suggestions would be for systems for those particular worlds.
Right. Or have they actually done something like that and how did it work out,
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's a good idea.
So
I can kick us off with, I got a handful of them right off the top of my head. One game system I would really, really, really love to try to play that I have not yet played, and this goes back several years, but that's Deadlands.
That's on my list too.
Talked about it. we talked about it before, and I had actually forgotten about it for a long time, and then Critical Role did their Deadlands. Well, they Undeadwood they called it, but and I watched it, and it reminded me, oh, that's right, I wanted to try that. And when I was watching them play, I'm like, that looks like so much fun, and I would really like to try that game. I think that would be a lot of fun. I have no idea how it's played, other than what I saw on the show. But
do know, Buddy has talked about the fact that he would be quite willing to run it. The problem is that there's some logistics. Like, apparently there's a communal deck of cards that people draw from.
Yes.
That it would be hard. It would be hard to emulate that.
Yeah. You play poker.
Okay.
With the game master.
Right.
At different points of the game. And it sometimes will, depending on whether you win the hand or not, will determine an outcome of certain things. It's really interesting how it works, but you kind of have to all be at the same table for it to work out logistically, and in today's environment that's not really conducive to that. So
right. All right. One of the ones that I've read about for years and years that people keep mentioning in my group, but no one's ever actually said, "No, I'm going to run this," is Torg.
Torg, okay. That takes me back.
Yeah. It's set supposedly near future, undetermined near future, but near future, and the world's been subjected to an interdimensional invasion.
Yeah.
And so wherever these dimensions have invaded, they've changed the world to resemble more their home than Earth. And so you basically have, I don't know, the only thing that comes to mind is there's an author that I started reading when I was in my teens, Jack Chalker, who came up with a sci-fi quintilogy about the Well World. And it was the idea that there was a creator race to the universe called the Markovians, and they created everything. They basically did so using uber advanced mathematics to the point where they could control the mathematical formula of reality. And they had a laboratory called the Well World, which is covered in hexagons. And each hexagon is a different species and one of 3 different tech levels. Either no tech, semi-tech, or high-tech. And it struck me that playing Torg would be a little bit like trying to travel across the well world. And that's a game that I would absolutely love to figure out a system for and then run it. The problem is that the prep would be massive.
Yeah.
Because you're basically, it would be you have to get from here to here before these other people who are trying to get from here to here and stop whatever's happening at the destination. But then the players would have to figure out what route are they taking and through what hexes, what's the quickest way there, and how to deal with the various threats in each hex.
Right. Another game system that reminded me of Torg was Rifts.
Yep.
The idea behind Rifts, however, was more of stepping through dimension in alternate realities was commonplace and happened constantly. So you had every kind of genre you can think of that walked Earth, in some form or another.
Yeah.
Readily and easily. And the source material for Rifts and Palladium Games was immense.
Oh, yeah.
And, certainly, thinking back on it, what a nightmare to try to run.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because there's just, you can play anything.
It reminds me a little bit. Do you remember the show Sliders?
Yes.
Reminds me of that a little bit. Sliders was just alternate Earths.
Right.
But, yeah. And I think you'd probably have to, you'd have to set out in advance and say, okay, they're going here and here or here because those are the source books I have.
Right.
So,
Essentially, yep.
It's not all that different from any other game. You play with the material you have.
I've talked about this on the show before too. Another system that I would really like to play or run is just went mind blank. Cipher System.
Yeah, see, I don't know anything about that one.
See, the great thing about the Cipher System is it can be adapted to fit anything you want to come up with. I've seen it used for superheroes. I've seen it used for fantasy settings. I've seen it used for future dystopians. All kinds of things. It can be easily adapted for just about anything. You're talking about what game system, that would be a very, very good one to use because it was created specifically to be able to adapt to different genres. So I'd like to try that.
There's a game that I only became aware of because Amazon Prime started a show based on the game. If anybody has seen Tales from the Loop on Amazon Prime, the idea is that there's a town called, Mercer, Ohio, which I think is really funny.
Yeah,
and Mercer is home to the Mercer Center for Experimental Physics. It's an underground facility that the residents simply call the Loop. And I kind of liken it to the sci-fi series Eureka, in that they're living in a town where, because of the research being done in the local research facility, weird things happen all the time. And so it's a little bit that, and maybe a little bit Stranger Things.
Right.
But it's, you play, usually teenagers that live in the town, and weird stuff happens and they have to deal with it because the adults are too busy causing it.
Right.
And, it sounds like, you could do anything with that, because, experimental physics, you could have, Cthulhian monsters come through. You could have aliens come through. You could have, like, weird time warp effects. You could have anything.
Sure.
You could have someone come through who actually can cast spells, and everybody's like, what do we do? All we have are guns. And when they throw that shield spell up, the guns don't seem to work anymore, So
Not
it seems
effectively,
like there's a lot you could do with that. I'm sure I could have a whole lot of fun with that system.
Yeah. You mentioned this before we came on the air, another game I would really love to try. And that's the Star Trek game.
Yep. Yeah, I just discovered its existence doing prep for the show.
Yeah, I've known about this game. I was an avid fan, part of the Aux crew for Shields of Tomorrow, which was Geek and Sundry's show that where they used that game system. Loved that show, loved the game, and I wanted to play it ever since I seen it. A lot of fun to watch.
I still have somewhere in a box Starfleet Battles.
Oh yeah,
which that must have come out in what, the 80s?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And it was basically kind of like Mech Warrior, Battletech type stuff, except it's all starship combat.
Yeah, it was a tactical combat simulator,
I only got to play that a few times, but I had a blast every single time.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So, and if I could find it, I'm bringing it back somehow. I don't know how it'll work virtually these days, but I'll figure it out. Maybe you put it up on Roll20. Put a big Starfield hex map up on Roll20 and do that. That might work.
Yeah, you could make your own map.
Yep.
And hex it out and make your own little... Yeah, you could do it.
Yeah.
It would be easy enough to do.
Okay. I shouldn't have thought of that. Because now I want to do it. And I don't have time for the stuff that I'm already doing, let alone something new.
So what ideas did you have in mind for trying to adapt a game to fit?
Well, I actually have a couple more that I want to mention.
Okay.
I want to play Call of Cthulhu.
Oh.
I have me being the huge horror fan that I am, and I am a huge horror geek.
Yep.
I've never gotten to play Call of Cthulhu. I've always wanted to. And my wife always looks at me like, "Oh, you are crazy." But my attitude is any game with sanity points, I'm in. If that's a stat, I'm interested.
Mm-hmm.
Because you want to talk about role-playing potential.
Sure.
Your character starts to lose their sanity. There's some great role-playing potential there.
Yep.
But I've always been fascinated with the Lovecraft universe anyway. I've been Annette and I have been watching Lovecraft Country.
Gotcha.
And it's incredible. It's incredible in the way it handles the Lovecraft universe. It's also incredible in the way it handles the realities of 1950s America. And the fact that the protagonists are black in 1950s America makes it sometimes uncomfortable to watch, but always just amazingly good. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be uncomfortable,
Right.
And the last one, and this one, people are going to look at me like, Why do you want to try that? Just because I've heard such good things about it. Pathfinder.
Oh,
I know that it's supposedly just like a different take on D&D 3.5. I get that. But
right.
so many people talk about it like it's better. And
I've never played it myself.
no, I've never played it either. And so I'm curious.
Yes. Now, I'll say this. The Critical Role guys played Pathfinder before they actually went to their stream.
Mm-hmm.
They had to convert all of their characters to 5th edition D&D from Pathfinder.
Right.
So that's why you had a lot of weird things, that kind of carried over. It was just a little, but yeah, I've never played Pathfinder myself. I've never been like excited to go to try it. It would be interesting just because I've never played it, but um, I know a lot of people swear by it. They prefer that over 3rd edition D&D.
Right.
So okay.
Like I say, I have heard that too. And some people that I respect a lot have said Pathfinder's better. Pathfinder makes more sense as a
Okay.
gaming system. So I'm curious.
Very interesting.
Yeah. All right. Now, let me answer the question you posed a few minutes ago. One of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is there are a lot of game worlds or potential game worlds out there that either no one's really made a game specifically for, or they have, but I'm wondering if there's a better way to do it.
Okay.
Let's start with that and the whole. I'm wondering if there's a better way to do it, and that would be the Dresden Files.
Okay.
Because Dresden Files has its own RPG. It's a little on the complicated side.
I have an answer for you. And I'm going to put this out there right now. Probably a lot of what you're going to say, this is going to be my answer for.
Okay.
And that is Vampire. The Masquerade, 5e. There's already a magic system in place. There's already real world mechanics in place. Supernatural is already in place. Everything is there mechanically that you would need, I think, for that game system. So and the other thing is, I don't know much about Dresden. I know that's your big thing. You're really into that.
Oh,
and
I
all,
love
but
that. Yeah.
it seems to me that it is a very heavy story-based thing.
Yeah.
While there is combat, I'm imagining, I'm not thinking that it's like an ongoing thing. Like there might be once in a while you'll find yourself.
Usually
But
in
it's more
every book, there's probably out of an entire novel four what I would call skirmishes, and then the big uber battle at the end.
right. So Vampire is very conducive to storytelling.
Yeah.
And you know, playing your way through a plot and discovering and sleuthing and all of that sorts of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think it might be a decent system for that.
I was thinking the White Wolf D10 system, but I was also wondering if there would be a way to effectively port it to like a fusion of D20 Modern and D&D proper for the spells.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know that much about the universe to really understand or wrap my head around what the magic is like. Um, that's why I said vampire, because there is a magic system in place there. I don't know how that would translate from what they can do in Dresden or whatnot, but you know.
All right. So that's the only one that I was wondering about that actually has its own system already. And I'm not saying that I don't like the Dresden system that's out. I've played it a few times, run it at cons a couple times, and it's good. It would probably get easier if I ran it more. But I'm just trying to think if I wanted to start like a full campaign and didn't want to have to completely mentally embody a new system, if there'd be a way to do it easier.
Right.
The second one, because with the let me phrase this very carefully. With the original films, I was a huge fan. With the new films, they can go sod themselves. Jurassic Park. If you were going to run an adventure set on Isla Nublar, what system would you use for that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, there I could definitely see a fusion of D20 Modern and Dungeons and Dragons, because you just use the D20 Modern setting and import the dinosaur stats from Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, the only issue I have with that is Dungeons and Dragons is not it isn't an authentic combat simulator. So the creatures might be fine in D&D stats.
Right.
But if you wanted to make it, there's no chance for you to stand toe to toe with a Tyrannosaurus.
Right.
Like, and not only is there no chance, you will die in the Tyrannosaurus's first action. If you stand in front of it, that's just, so that's kind of the issue I have with D&D, is it isn't real smooth as far as an authentic thing like that. So a lot of Jurassic Park is running, hiding, stealthing, trying to get away, trying to outthink or outsmart.
Yep. Setting traps.
Yeah, that kind of thing. The one thing you do have on your side, perhaps, is technology.
Right.
High-tech weapons and stuff like that. For example, in Jurassic Park 2, when that hunter, had all of those vehicles and manpower and weaponry and so forth and even then, it didn't go smooth and according to plan. But
No.
so yeah, that would be tough. I'm not sure. It would have to be something that isn't a hit point system, I think. It would have to be something that's more of where you have wound points.
Yeah.
Where if you take damage, your body is injured and you suffer penalties, or you flat out die, or you're dying, or something like that. So I'm not sure what system.
I don't know. Maybe White Wolf.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a good one.
Yep.
I'll need more time to think about that.
Yep. Well, if you're watching this, if you've got an idea, leave it in the comments.
See what you think.
What system would you use to run a Jurassic Park themed game?
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up, Watchmen.
Watchmen, yeah, that's pretty good because um, I don't think I would use D&D because D&D is not real good for superhero stuff.
No, no, I wasn't thinking that.
Um,
No, it's one of the few
you know,
times my brain did not automatically go to that D20 system.
right. My go-to, off the top of my head, is the obvious one, villains and vigilantes.
Right.
But having seen that Cipher system used for a superhero setting would be brilliant for that.
Hmm.
Would be wonderful for that setting. Like, yeah, it would be spot on. Yep.
Yeah. I've often wondered about that sort of, alternate future, like an
Right.
alternate modern day
Right.
type setting. Um Here's one. A movie that I absolutely love and most people look at me like, "What's wrong with you?" Cowboys and Aliens.
Okay. Well, I think we mentioned it. Deadlands.
Right, but it's not horror. It's alien
No,
invasion.
right. But I think Deadlands would be well suited for it. Alien is just another kind of creature, you know.
Right, but the issue is that in a Cowboys and Aliens game, the whole mystic element isn't there. It's just
Which is
straight Old
fine.
West, and then you add some aliens and advanced high tech.
Right. And I think Deadlands would still work for it. Because Deadlands is that thing. The thing with that game is that it's just you know the Old West uh, meets the weird. It isn't necessarily
Hmm.
horror,
Okay.
you know. So yeah, I think that would work just fine for it actually.
Hmm. All
Um,
right. Well, I've never seen the rules for Deadlands. I've never read the books or anything, so I don't know exactly what the mechanics are.
yeah, the mechanics are weird, but they work well for that.
Okay.
um, I got one for you.
All right.
What about well, I was going to say from one of my favorite books and one of my favorite television shows from when I was a kid, The $6 Million Man. The book was Cyborg,
Right.
but a game that maybe where the bionics program and the government stepped up and they were making more agents that were cybernetic, and that's your game system.
Hmm. I'm sure that there's like cyberpunk probably would work. Based on what I know, I would go with Shadowrun and just pull the magic out of it.
Hmm. Yeah, I've never
Because
never played Shadowrun, so
Shadowrun is a very unique system. I mean, it since I first read the backstory in the rule book, I have been in love with Shadowrun. The
hmm
idea is that sometime in the near future, a group of Native American shamans rose up and told the U.S. government, that whole midsection of the United States, we want it back right now, or
right.
else. And the government kind of went, or else, yeah, eh. And so this group of shamans began the Great Ghost Dance and reawakened magic in the world. And every natural disaster possible in the continental United States started happening all at once. And when the U.S. government finally capitulated, not only did the Native Americans get what they wanted, but reality had shifted back to when magic was part of the world. And so people started to change. Now there weren't just humans. There were elves, there were dwarves, there were trolls, there were orcs, dragons reawoke in the world. But you had a futuristic Blade Runner-esque society at the time.
That leads me to my next one, Blade Runner.
I think Blade Runner I would probably approach with the White Wolf system.
Yeah.
With
you
the,
could easily do the replicants in
with
White
the
Wolf.
rules from Mage,
Mm-hmm.
Iteration X has those creatures already written up in the stats. Because it has creatures that could function either as replicants or as Terminators.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I think I'd probably approach it from that point of view, which brings me to my next one. I know you've already done Terminator using Villains of Vigilante rules.
Mm-hmm.
Is there another system that you would consider using if you were going to run another Terminator game?
Well, it depends on what kind of a Terminator game you're talking about. Now, the one I ran way back in the day was one that was set during the war against the machines.
Right.
With, John Connor and Kyle Reese and all those guys doing battle, where humanity was actually in the fight with Skynet, which is clearly just a battle-ridden game. That's all it really is.
Yep.
Now, if it's a Terminator is sent back in time and you've got to stop it with conventional weaponry and so forth, that I think might be a different thing. So it depends on what you're talking about. I think as far as the future setting with the war, I might go with something like a third edition D20 rule system. Not necessarily D&D, but a D20
like D20
system.
Modern.
Yeah. I might go with something like that. If it's something more set in present time where you've got to deal with a singular Terminator with today's technology, I might be more inclined to go with the vampire system.
Yeah, do you know, is there because a D20 Modern was like third edition.
Yes.
Has anybody done a D20 Modern that's like fifth edition?
Oh, I'm sure they have, but I don't know that I've actively seen one, but I'm sure they're out there.
No, I haven't either, but...
Yeah.
All right. The last one I have on my list I saved for last because it's my favorite, and it's something that I've thought about a lot, many, many times in my life. If you were going to do George Romero's Living Dead world,
Uh-huh.
what would you use?
Well, that's very much like the Jurassic Park thing.
Yeah.
Where you have an overwhelming force and you have to survive.
Yep.
So a survival type game, I think Vampire might work well, which that's a little bit on the nose, but it would work well. I think a Cipher System might work well for that too.
I'm definitely going to have to check this Cipher System out.
Yeah.
That's clear. And I want to look
It's-
at this. I want to look at this new Star Trek system too.
Yeah. The thing with the Cipher System that makes it interesting is the game master doesn't roll any dice ever. The game master sets the difficulty for the player, who then has to roll the dice. And if they succeed, they succeed. If they fail, they fail. And that is, for example, if you have a monster attacking one of the players, how the monster attacks is the player has to roll to defend against the monster's set number.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And depending on circumstances, could be penalized or benefited, much like disadvantage and advantage, based on the situation. But yeah, it's cool because you, as a game master, you roll no dice. The players roll all the dice.
I don't know what I'd do with myself if I didn't roll dice.
Well, it does free you up.
Yeah. It would be
You
very
know, not
strange,
having
though.
to do all that, and it helps move the game along pretty quickly.
Well, yeah, there is that.
You know, it works surprisingly well, and I've seen it work in really well using in a superhero setting. So, in fact, it's the same cast that did the Shields of Tomorrow, the Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that did the Geek and Sundry. They used the Cipher System to do their own superhero game, which I was a big fan of that too, called Callisto 6. Marvelous show. Highly recommend watching it.
Yeah. It also makes me think, like, you know, let's say, just for sake of argument, that somebody wanted to do this. It's not something that would necessarily appeal to me, but somebody wanted to do it. If you wanted to do a Harry Potter based game,
Well, you'd have to have a magic heavy system,
right?
but something that was more tailored towards the Harry Potter type magic, because that is completely different than Dungeons and Dragons magic.
Mm-hmm.
Geez, I don't know. I have to go back to Vampire on this because the magic system is in place. It has all of the modern facilities and things in place. So,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Vampire. It would just be a updated 5th edition version of Mage.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Have they released that yet?
not to my knowledge.
That's too bad.
Yeah, because it's not White Wolf any longer, so
Oh, yeah.
Modifius has got that system now.
My
And
Mage was always my favorite of the White Wolf games.
yeah, to my knowledge, they only got the Vampire in the 5th edition rules, but so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that. Oh, well, going back to games that I'd like to play, it's not that I've never played it, but I've only played it once. And especially with the Christmas holidays coming up, I think it would be a blast to play like a, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer world type game using the rules for Toon.
Okay. That would be fun. I'd play that.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. The other one that, again, 2 related games that I've played once each, and I really enjoyed one of them, and the other one was, was pretty good, but Chill.
Oh, yeah.
That is the system that I would pick to run, like, Fright Night.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah.
Because that's exactly what it's set for. Fright Night, Lost Boys, all of those, normal people versus the monsters
Sure.
kind of settings. That's what it's designed for. It's average people going up against the supernatural. But the other one that I always thought would be really interesting that, I'm not sure I actually ever did play this. I know we were planning to, but I don't remember if we ever actually did, is the other side of the Chill universe, Creature Feature.
I actually played that game many times.
Did you?
Yes. And had the most fun with that stupid game. The other side of it, the Creature Feature, where Chill was more of, you're the human monster hunter.
Right.
Whatever. It was meant to be like a scarier game. It was meant to be a horror type game.
Mm-hmm.
Creature Feature, on the other hand, was meant to be a little more tongue-in-cheek. It was not intended to be dark or heavy. It was meant to be a little more amusing. How you have, this would be a good example, how you have, your George Romero Night of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Creature Feature is more like Shaun of the Dead.
Right.
Okay. That's kind of, it was just a lot more flippant and tongue-in-cheek. Wasn't as crazy one-sided as like I'll tell you exactly what it was like. Do you remember the George Hamilton Dracula?
Yeah. Dracula Dead and Loving It?
That is kind of how Creature Feature was.
Okay.
Children of the night, shut up.
Right.
All
right. Last game world. What system would you use for Highlander?
Well, any of them would work. Even Dungeons and Dragons would work well for Highlander. The old second edition White Wolf vampire system, they had this. You're not the first person to think of this idea of genre there was a website that had supplemental rules for virtually every horror / science fiction genre, film, book, whatever, using White Wolf systems, so you could do it. One of them was the Highlander.
And
it worked magnificently for that. Instead of blood points, you had quickening.
Right.
And the more quickening you had, the more powerful you were. And every time you took another immortal's head and absorbed his power, your quickening level would go up and make you that much stronger. It was really cool how they did it. And, you had certain abilities, I don't really want to call them power. It was just more of, things that they could do. They could sense another one's presence. They were faster and stronger than a normal human.
Right.
But just stuff like that. It was pretty cool how they had it set up. So, but I would say any system just about you could use to do that would be pretty cool.
I thought of one more, but I also realized that the only way that particular game would work is if you didn't tell people what they were playing, so I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
Because now that I've thought of it, I'm definitely going to try it at some point.
Okay.
Because what a phenomenal world to run a game in. So,
Well, there is one other one. Um, uh, Prometheus. I don't want to say Alien. I would be more inclined to do something along the lines of Prometheus.
hmm
What system might you want to use for something like that?
hmm. I could make everyone angry and say, Traveler.
Yeah, well, you do the math.
Yeah, no kidding. That's a really good question. I don't know. Probably, I would think the D10, the White Wolf D10 system.
Hmm.
Either that or a fifth edition port of Modern could work. The way the skill system works in fifth edition, I can see that being conducive to that sort of game style.
Real quick, I have one more that just occurred to me.
All right.
Westworld.
Oh,
And I mean more of the HBO one, not the old Yul Brynner one, because that is basically Jurassic Park.
yeah.
It's kind of where Jurassic Park was derived from, but
I think probably you'd use the same. You could use the same system that you'd use for Blade Runner, really. Because you're dealing with, again, basically androids stuffed with artificial intelligence.
right.
And I don't know. There's got to be out there like a good system for sort of like spy espionage games.
Hmm.
And that, I think, would probably be the best style to go with for a Westworld type game, because you don't know who's who. You don't know necessarily if you're dealing with a human being or you're dealing with one of the Westworld folk.
So you could do something similar along the lines of Battlestar Galactica too,
Yeah.
with the Cylons, because you don't know, you know, if they're an infiltrator or if they're
Well, the
the
new
actual
Battlestar
person.
Galactica. The old Battlestar Galactica,
Right.
you
Yeah,
knew who they were
anyway,
because
yeah,
they
that ain't
were
what
all
I'm talking
silver and they
about.
had the eye that went like this and they talked in that metallic
Yeah, it's cool.
voice. And
As cool as that was, I'm talking about the new ones.
okay. So yeah, there you go. Lots of ideas, lots of questions, and if you've got answers or suggestions for any of them, please let us know.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
We're only two guys, and we've only got so much time, so we haven't tried all the different systems that are out there. There may be something out there that we don't know about that would be just spot on perfect for one of the things that we've talked about. If that's the case, leave it in the comments. Please let us
Please,
know.
yeah, because I'm always on the lookout for new cool systems and stuff like
Yep.
that.
Me too. Me too.
Kind of become my new hobby.
All right. So yeah, that's I think gonna wrap up tonight's GM chat. Remember, we got the big Extra Life Marathon coming up on Saturday, November 7th. 8:30 a.m. Eastern U.S. time is when the first game starts. We'll go live on the stream at 8. And we'll be looking for your donations to help us raise money for Children's Miracle Network hospitals. We're also proud to be part of the official Dungeons and Dragons team for Extra Life. So we're teaming up with D&D proper plus all of the other teams that have joined them as well, and hoping to put in a good showing for our first year. Plus, it's going to be some really interesting games. This will be, apart from the occasional 3rd edition game that Buddy's running, this will be the first time I've played something in many months.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to sort of stepping to the other side of the aisle and letting somebody else do the heavy lifting and me just having to worry about being one person.
Right.
I spend way too much of my time being like a dozen different people a night, so.
Yeah, well, go with your best pitch.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we hope to see you on Saturday for those
Definitely.
games. Remember, you can get all the details at artifactsworldwide.com. Just click on news, scroll down, the whole schedule's there. Plus, if you click on the names of the games, you'll get expanded information about what's going to go on.
And if you're on the West Coast, make sure you set your alarms for 5 a.m. so you can get up in time to watch my game.
Yeah. Nikki's in Mountain Time, so she's going to be up at like 6, so she can start playing your game at 6:30 in the morning.
Yep. It'll be fun, though.
Yep.
So.
Yep. All right.
All right.
Have a wonderful night, a wonderful weekend. We hope we'll see you on Saturday, and if not, we'll see you next Wednesday night for another episode of GM Chat. Good night, everybody.
Good night.